friend. She was always there when I needed to speak to someone. She helped me out in my classes. Um, I ate lunch with her a few times. She was very helpful. She liked to volunteer. Yeah.
Sarah was such a loving daughter. Whenever she walked into the room, everybody smiled. She never did anything wrong. She was like the perfect child.
June 10th, 2015, Charles Brown, Sarah's ex-lover, wrote a note to her after his first hour final foods in Mrs. Trupiano's room, stating, "Sarah, I'm sick without you. Meet me after school." On the morning of June 12th, 2015, Charles was about to return his textbook until he remembered he had to meet his ex-lover, Sarah Smith.
This is where I grew up. I picked the present on and fixed it up. I never knew we ever went without.
Once he arrived in the classroom, they immediately started arguing.
Most of the time had better things to do. Criminal record says I'm broken twice.
He picked up the DNA model and striked Sarah 3 times.
It's too late. Should I go back and try?
I walked by and saw Sarah crying from the hallway. Sarah can be a little crazy with grades. She told me she was going to fail chemistry and that her teacher didn't like her. And it didn't surprise me that I saw her arguing with her teacher. She needs every point she can get. We passed by and left.
Jazz and I were trying to find a ride home that day. We passed by room E4 and we saw Sarah crying in there. I thought it'd be a bad time to ask her, so I walked by the media center and saw my friend Sam sitting in there. He only had 1 spot left in his car, so I took it. We ended up going to his house and playing Call of Duty till like 2 a.m. that night. It was sick.
So it was right around 12 noon when I got the call about the mess. There was a beaker of glass, this glass beaker fell on the ground and parts went everywhere, and I was going to go down and clean it up right away, but being that the students were away over the summer, no one was in the building and there was no concern for safety. And so when I eventually got to the room a few moments later, I noticed Sarah was on the floor, and that's when I called Mrs. Crowley right away.
For blood typing, the blood being tested must be put into the 3 slots marking A, B, and RH. Once all of the blood is ready, put the anti-A antigen in, and after that, repeat this step except with B in the B slot. Finally, add the RH antibody and mix up all 3 of these until agglutination occurs. If agglutination occurs in the A or B slot, that means that the A and or B antigen is prevalent in the blood. If the RH column agglutinates, that means that the blood is positive, if not negative. After waiting for agglutination to occur, we realized that this specific sample was AB positive. After testing the blood at the crime scene, we found Charles Brown's blood AB positive on the beaker and Sarah Smith's blood B negative on the DNA model. On the west side of the wall of the crime scene, we identified 2 cast-offs, which proves that the killer did indeed strike Sarah 3 times. With all of this evidence, we can put Charles Brown on the scene, making him one of the only potential killers.
Hello, my name is Cerny, and I'm the DNA fingerprinting specialist for the crime scene. What I did was I used gel electrophoresis on pieces of evidence found at the crime scene to sort the DNA found in those pieces of evidence. The first piece of evidence I found was there was blood near the glass, and using gel electrophoresis, we discovered that the blood near the glass was Charles Brown, and using that piece of evidence, we can conclude that Charles Brown was injured and shed blood. And the second piece of evidence that we discovered was there was blood under the victim's fingernails, and we found that that also was Charles Brown's blood. So we can conclude from that Charles Brown and Sarah were somehow had a fight and that there was bloodshed.
Crime scene processing is an essential task to crime solving. A team of forensic scientists reconstruct what could have occurred based on evidence left behind at the crime scene. Crime scene processing requires many specialists to recreate the crime. There's a photographer. He or she will take photos of the crime scene, who's at the crime scene, and the entrances and exits of the crime scene. The second is the videographer. This person can audio record observations that they notice at the crime scene, or they can literally videotape the crime scene. The third person is the medical examiner. He or she will make initial observations of the victim, but they can't really do anything until they get the victim back to the lab. And the fourth person is the measurer. He or she will take measurements of evidence to the body. So if the body was right here and there's a piece of evidence there, you would measure the distance from there to there. It's just for the sketches. There are 4 ways to search a crime scene. There's the grid method, quadrant method, spiral method, and the line method. So by using ink chromatography, we were able to conclude that the marker used to write the note came from Mrs. Tripiano's room, which was the vis-a-vis marker.
Hi, my name is Kierra Watkins, and I am the hair and fingerprint analysis. In a crime scene where a hair is found, you cannot immediately connect it to someone unless there is a follicle tag attached. If there is no follicle tag, you'll have to match the cuticle, medulla, and cortex. If a fingerprint is found, you have to make sure all the characteristics match before you can link it to your suspect or victim. In case number 9815, there are 3 hairs found, but only hair B and hair C match our victim and suspect. Sarah's hair and hair B have the same imbricate cuticle, the same color brown cortex, and the same continuous medulla. Charles's and hair C have the same imbricate cuticle, the same blind cortex, and the same absent medulla. There are multiple prints found at the crime scene, but we were able to match Charles Brown's left thumbprint to a print found on the DNA model and the countertop.
In conclusion, with Charles Brown's book found at the scene, Charles Brown's blood found under Sarah's fingertips, and the DNA model with Sarah's blood, and Charles Brown's hair being found at the scene being identified as hair C, we can prove that Charles Brown is indeed the killer of Sarah Smith.